I'm Matt McClure, and this is Currents. With Lent less than a day away, we'll take you to Fat Tuesday at a local school.
It's a festive time of the year. It's usually celebrated on a large scale in New Orleans.
And ahead of Ash Wednesday, we'll look at where the ashes come from.
These palms will become the ashes we will use on Ash Wednesday.
Plus, it's a run for the border as Libyans try to escape unrest in their home country. Well, good evening. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. While many people in America and throughout the world are celebrating Mardi Gras today, it's a very different scene in northern Africa. 4 weeks into bloody clashes in Libya, opposition leaders there say reports that Muammar Gaddafi is ready to make a deal are false. Members of Libya's opposition say they have not been negotiating an exit deal with the troubled leader. They're now denying an earlier claim by one opposition official that Gaddafi would step down, but only if he and his family were guaranteed safety and immunity from prosecution. Every time the violence continues, for the second straight day, the Libyan oil town of Ras Lanuf has been pounded by aerial attacks. Opposition fighters answered back with anti-aircraft fire. And at the international level, leaders at the United Nations continue to look for a solution.
The Secretary General has been talking with a very large number of world leaders, people in the region, including the Foreign Minister of Libya on Sunday, again, to try to move this process forward, to have the international community speaking as much as we can with one voice, and to trying to resolve the problems for the people on the ground.
And helping out those people on the ground is a top priority of the Catholic relief organization Caritas International as well. That group is working to help migrant workers who are trying to leave the country but are stuck at Libya's border with Egypt. For more on the situation and what Caritas is doing to help there, I spoke earlier today with Jason Bellinger. He's the Egypt country representative for Caritas member group Catholic Relief Services. All right, well, Jason, thank you so much for being here on Currents today. We really appreciate your time.
Very well.
Well, describe for our viewers, first of all, if you will, the situation there along the Libya-Egypt border right now.
I would describe the situation as being fairly calm. There are roughly 5,000 migrant workers of various different nationalities. The majority of them are from Bangladesh, many countries from Africa and Asia, and they are essentially stranded at the border until they can receive their paperwork and their travel documents. Many of them have no passports. They've lost all their documentation. It was all stolen or burned behind by their companies or by the people that have been causing problems in Libya. And so these people have arrived here along the border without any travel documents, and most of them cannot move forward until their embassy officials come and provide them the support that they need in order to be able to move on back to their country.
Okay. So just to clarify for our viewers, so these are people who are migrant workers. They've come into Libya from other countries, and now we're trying to get back out amidst all this violence.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, well, very good. Now, what exactly is Caritas doing to help the situation there?
We have been providing food for the last couple of days. We've been working with UNHCR, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees. We've located their vendor, and they are purchasing pre-prepared meals. We've done the same. We've been procuring meals through this vendor. We've been bringing 2,000 meals a day yesterday and today also, and then 3,000 bottles of water yesterday and today, and then we're also trucking in a great deal more of bottled water tomorrow, and we're taking it day by day based on what the needs are.
Okay. Well, and you are, of course, as we've said, along the Libya-Egypt border. Does the recent uprising in Egypt and kind of instability there, does that add any difficulty to the situation? How does that affect what you're doing?
It hasn't had a tremendous impact. The situation that we're facing here is that the migrant workers in Saloum along the border are in a facility called the Saloum Land Port, and the local officials there do not want to see any sort of shelter or temporary infrastructure being set up. They don't want to have a camp situation. And these are instructions from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Cairo. And with the government being in still somewhat of a state of disarray, it's difficult to get approvals on any sort of decisions to be made. So the migrant workers are essentially in limbo, and they're not able to be sleeping under tents or more structured environment. Many of them are sleeping out in the open air or in enclosed buildings, but they're not entirely enclosed.
Gotcha. What happens next for them? I mean, once they get across, do they go back to their home countries eventually, or do we know really what the situation is going to be for them, I guess, maybe case to case?
It's case to case. Many of them will go home to their countries of origin. The Bangladeshis, many of them have to wait until they can get on charter flights to leave Marsa Matruh, which is about 2 hours east of Saloum, where they're currently staying, and they will be flown back home. There are 3 charter flights coming in tonight to bring roughly 600 of them back home. The Sudanese, they get on buses, and they end up in Aswan in Upper Egypt in the south, and they take a ferry and arrive in a town in northern Sudan, and then they are on their own. The persons from other countries, as soon as they get support from their embassies to get their proper travel documents, they are usually put on commercial flights or charter flights and end up back home as well. Then you've got a group of people from Chad, from Liberia, from the Ivory Coast. These are people that may end up being refugees in Cairo simply because they're not able to return home.
Gotcha. All right, Jason, one last question here for you before we wrap up. How can our viewers at home help if they would like? Are monetary donations best, or what do you guys look for?
Monetary donations would be best. At this point in time, what we're doing is we're locating local vendors here in Egypt, and we can look at items such as blankets. They're also contemplating the idea of mobile picnic to improve the sanitation, food, water. There's always going to be a need for food and water because there's a constant rotation and influx of people coming in, and it's not being offset by the people that are leaving because of the challenges in getting the appropriate travel documents.
All right. Well, Jason, thank you so much for joining us here on Currents today. We really appreciate you taking some time out for us, sir.
You're very welcome. All the best.
Thanks. You too. Well, stay with us. There's much more Currents coming up. A change of heart or just a change of scheduling. Governor Andrew Cuomo decides to meet with Catholic bishops in Albany after all. That story plus the rest of the day's headlines next. Welcome back to Currents. I'm Matt McClure. Coming up later, the day before we get the ashes, we'll find out where they come from. But first, let's have a look at today's headlines. Well, it did happen after all. Less than a week after saying he would not meet with New York State's Catholic bishops, Governor Andrew Cuomo announced he had time in his schedule after all for the meeting. The bishops, along with around 1,000 Catholics from around the state, are in Albany for the New York State Catholic Conference's annual Public Policy Day. Now, in last week's Into the Deep interview here on Currents, Bishop DiMarzio discussed the reason the bishops wanted to meet with Cuomo.
We're not going there on any kind of a pastoral visit. We're talking about political situation in the state. He's the governor, or whoever is the governor we meet with.
Well, the bishops were also meeting with Senate Majority Leader Dean Skelos and Assembly Speaker Sheldon Silver. We'll have a full report tomorrow night on Currents. A new wrinkle now in the story of the pro-life billboard in Soho that garnered strong reactions. The billboard featured a young African-American girl with text that read, "The most dangerous place for an African-American is in the womb." Well, the mother of that little girl pictured on the ad wants the Life Always organization, who sponsored that billboard, to apologize. She tells the Daily News that the picture was taken at a modeling agency 2 years ago. She says she knew it could wind up being used as a stock photograph, but did not expect it to be used like this. Life Always says that it will not use the girl's image again. The billboard company eventually took that ad down after a flurry of complaints about its message. Well, turning now to Philadelphia, the Archdiocese there has placed 21 priests on administrative leave following a grand jury report on sexual abuse by clergy. The Archdiocese hired a former Philadelphia Assistant District Attorney to review the cases detailed in the February report. After conducting an initial review, she will now lead a team that will investigate each case more fully. In a statement, Philadelphia Archbishop Cardinal Justin Regali acknowledged that people's trust in the church has been shaken, and he prayed that efforts by the Archdiocese will help rebuild that trust. He said he was truly sorry for the harm done to the victims of sexual abuse. Well, you may want to get out your political scorecards for this next story. 5 potential GOP presidential candidates were in Iowa last night for a forum on faith and freedom. Sponsored by the Faith and Freedom Coalition, the forum featured, among others, former Senator Rick Santorum, a Catholic, who told the audience that he's been fighting the wars on moral issues like abortion. Former House Speaker Newt Gingrich, meanwhile, proposed 4 executive orders the next president should sign after taking office, including reinstituting the Mexico City policy, which bans taxpayer funding of abortions overseas. Former Minnesota Governor Tim Pawlenty, former Louisiana Governor Buddy Roemer, and former Godfather's Pizza CEO and Georgia Senate candidate Herman Cain also took part in that forum. Well, turning now to California, that state's Supreme Court says it will not speed up a hearing on Proposition 8, which defines marriage in that state as between one man and one woman. The court has been asked to decide whether Proposition 8 sponsors will have any legal standing if the state will not defend the measure itself. Now, former California Governor Arnold Schwarzenegger and former Attorney General Jerry Brown, who became governor this year, both refused to defend Proposition 8 during the appeals process. In Virginia, meanwhile, students at one high school have taken matters into their own hands after a 10 Commandments display was removed from their school. Around 200 students at Giles High School walked out of the school on Monday to protest the removal of the display. The school board there voted to remove framed copies of the 10 Commandments following threats of a lawsuit from the American Civil Liberties Union and the Freedom from Religion Foundation. Well, turning to Egypt, where Christians remain under fire. A priest and 3 deacons reportedly missing now after a massive attack on the Coptic community in one town. According to reports, around 4,000 Muslims attacked Christian homes and set fire to a Catholic church. The attacks there reportedly took place because of a relationship between a Christian man and a Muslim woman. In Pakistan, a man who was charged with blasphemy back in 2009 but was later released because of a lack of evidence has been shot and killed. The website Asia News reports the man had been accused of making insulting remarks about the Prophet Muhammad. The victim's brother says the victim was shot by the same man who accused him of blasphemy. And meanwhile, the Archbishop of Lahore says Pakistani Christians have stepped up security after the murder last week of a Catholic government minister. Shahbaz Bhatti, Pakistan's Minister for Religious Minorities, was gunned down on his way to work. Bhatti had been pushing to have his country's blasphemy laws overturned. And it will be a first for the Vatican this year on Good Friday. We'll get details on that story from Rome Reports.
On Good Friday, April 22nd, the Pope will make history by appearing on television to answer questions about Jesus. This will be the first time that a Pope has granted a televised interview. Benedict XVI will begin the program by speaking on the person and identity of Jesus Christ, complementing his soon-to-be-released second installment of Jesus of Nazareth. Questions will be sent in by audiences, and the program planners will select the 3 questions they believe are most important for the Pope to answer. Though the program will air on Rai Uno, an Italian public television network, production of the program has been entrusted to the Vatican Television Office and will likely be filmed inside the Apostolic Palace. Sources in the Vatican have said that the idea for this program came from some of the Pope's closest collaborators, and that this program represents Benedict's desire to explain the person of Jesus Christ to the world.
I love that shot at the end. That kind of actually looks a little bit like our control room here. Well, stay tuned. There's much more currents coming up. Just ahead, the spirit of Mardi Gras takes over at a school in Astoria.
We're here to celebrate Mardi Gras. It's like a party before Lent.
Well, welcome back and happy Fat Tuesday, better known to revelers around the world by its French moniker, Mardi Gras. So what is Mardi Gras, you might ask? Well, contrary to popular belief, it is far more than beads, masks, and feathered headdresses and all the other costume pieces. Simply put, it is the party before the penance. Mardi Gras is celebrated the day before Ash Wednesday, which of course will be observed tomorrow. and it marks the beginning of the 40-day Lenten season. Now, while the period of Lent is a time of sacrifice and fasting, Mardi Gras is that last chance to feast. And feast they did over at Immaculate Conception School in Astoria this weekend at an early but timely Mardi Gras festival. And as you see, they surely know how to party over there, and they made sure to let the good times roll.
Today's a really fun day because we have our own DJ, we have our own food, and we can dance till 9. We wear costumes, so they give out all this stuff for free.
We're celebrating Mardi Gras, which is our celebration before Lent, and it's Saturday, and we brought the kids together with all the parents and to celebrate together. They see each other so much. Academically, they work so hard, so it was time to bring them together to a setting where they can enjoy themselves and see each other and celebrate.
The reason why we thought we had a Mardi Gras dance is introduce the kids to the fact that there are liturgical seasons and that Ash Wednesday is a time of penance, a time when we reflect upon our relationship with God. But we always like to celebrate before.
We're here to celebrate Mardi Gras. It's like a party before Lent. So you're having a good time.
We've been cooking all day, and we made lots of yummy food, and everyone seems to be enjoying it so far, so I think we did a great job.
Ash Wednesday always had Mardi Gras, which in French means Fat Tuesday, and it was the time when you could have meat for the last time, because at the time, Ash Wednesday, you couldn't eat meat at all during Lent. It was a way of saying goodbye to meat. In fact, the word carnevale, which is another word for Mardi Gras, carnevale means saying goodbye to meat. Carnevale. So it was a way of saying, okay, let's celebrate, because tomorrow, on Ash Wednesday, we will be, offering everything to God and living a much more sober kind of experience.
I'm giving up all sweets, such as like candies and chocolate. I'm giving up chocolate and meat, all meat.
Now Mardi Gras extends beyond Catholic Church. It's like one of these things that began in the Catholic Church, like Christmas and Halloween, and just took on because it's just so kind of user-friendly. It's a great thing to help celebrate a season.
It's a festive time of the year. It's usually celebrated on a large scale in New Orleans. And every year it's a tradition. It's a lot toned down. We don't have a parade, and it's not in the streets. It's in our school hall. We do have the gold and purple beads, and we throw them out to the kids.
Oh, I'm having a blast. I'm having a blast. My father's even here. And he's 75 years old, and he's here, and he's having fun too.
Oh my gosh, that actually looks like so much fun. It's not the big parade or anything, but they're having a great time there. They did this weekend anyway at Immaculate Conception School in Astoria. Great job, guys. Well, stay tuned. There's much more currents coming up. When we return, where do the ashes come from? We'll get the answer as people prepare to pack parishes on Ash Wednesday. Well, finally tonight, tomorrow might quite possibly be the busiest day of the year for many churches as the season of Lent gets underway with the observance of Ash Wednesday. The people come from all over to take part in the ancient tradition of having ashes placed on their foreheads. And one question that may cross their minds, and yours perhaps, is where exactly do those ashes come from? Well, last year we went to a local parish to find out.
Palliative Good Counsel Parish has been here for over 100 years on Staten Island. We have people from over 30 nations. It's been a tradition here for the last few years that on the Sunday previous to Ash Wednesday, we take the palm that the people received the previous Palm Sunday, and after each of the Masses, we burn it. These palms which proclaimed Christ's victorious entry into Jerusalem will become the ashes we will use on Ash Wednesday. Oh God, as we look forward to our Lenten journey, we acknowledge your call to conversion in our personal lives, in our lives as a church and as a nation. As we are signed again with these ashes on Wednesday, may we hear your call to turn away from sin and to embrace the gospel. May we live out these 40 days of Lent in a renewed spirit, so that we will rise to new life with Christ. We ask this through Christ the Lord.
I thought it was a very symbolic gesture in our Christian calendar as far as ending a period and then to commence a new one. It grounds us to our earthly lives and to each other. So for me, at the very least, that's what ashes symbolizes. It not only like spiritual reawakening or starting something from the beginning, because that is, we came from the earth. It also unites us to each other.
I think I remember as a child going with my mother to church and receiving ashes and didn't really understand it that well then. But as I grew older, I understand that how important it is, what it represents to be, again, reminded to change my life. To draw closer to the Lord, we have to make changes. For me, it's pride, so I have to work on that during this Lent. Having the ashes is a reminder of that. Even at night, you know, washing your face, you always feel you don't want to do that. You want to leave it there for the rest of Lent.
The people like it. For some of them, especially if it's the first time seeing it or witnessing it, it helps them to understand a little bit more the liturgy and the connection between the different liturgical seasons, and the fact that they all brought their palm and their palm are mixed together. In one sense, their palm is part of the ashes that they will be receiving on Wednesday. As pastor, I always hope that people will take advantage of this season as a time for some type of prayer or personal renewal, and also help us to come together more as a parish. Lord be with you. May God watch over and bless you this day and always. Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Very interesting and meaningful tradition there. Well, that is it for this edition of Currents. Coming up tomorrow, are you looking to take your Lenten sacrifice beyond chocolate and maybe caffeinated drinks this year? Well, we'll hear about some Lenten sacrifices and opportunities that you may not have thought about. And we'll also have a full report on today's Catholic Lobby Day in Albany. Until then, though, be sure to visit us online. We're over at currentsny.net. You can also friend us on Facebook or send us a tweet. For all of us here at Currents, I'm Matt McClure. Thanks so much for watching. Have a great night.